Okay, people, so this is now October 9th, 2018. I'm going to call this one, I'll Take the Bullet, Man Cave. Because I felt like I was in a man cave today, people. I went to court for Amari, right? And I was surrounded by 4 men and myself. And of course, nobody wants to talk about what happened to Shimei. Because we have to move forward. That's what the judge told me. We have to move forward for the benefit of Mari. So it's almost like Shimei didn't exist. What happened to Shimei doesn't matter. And the men in the room were, I wouldn't say fawning, you know, fawning. Wasn't coddling. I don't know what it was, people. I just know I was in a man cave. Okay, I didn't belong there. I felt very isolated and alone. I even called my lawyer on it today. I said, you know, are you sure you're up for this? Right? Because, you know, I feel like you're not really kind of like on my side in terms of down with the fight. And he said it's not that he's not down with for the fight, because I told him I believe in his abilities, right? I believe in him. I know he'll do the best of his ability. What he's concerned about is that under the legislation, what's that camera? Come on, I'm getting so tired of this, people. Anyway, this is all I have. I don't have anything else. Under the legislation, the sperm that created Amari, because I don't consider him to be a father, people. I don't. You don't terrorize people to keep your stance in life as a father. It's just, that's not what fathers do. Fathers don't hide behind curtains like the big black boogeyman to intimidate. Okay? Fathers face their problems. That's what fathers do. This one's not even facing anything. Anyway, I just said to the lawyer, I'll take the bullet. He looked at me and I said, well, it's Russian roulette. Because what he's afraid of is that through the legislation, it's set in stone that the sperm gets the right. The one that produced the sperm, produced the baby, the so-called father, just has universal rights. Even though we know that ultimately, at the end of the day, no child is safe when it comes to government employees wanting to take children away from their parents. But in this case, because the father has no real history with, you know, any agency, government agency, there's nothing that they can say bad about him, and therefore he gets a green light. Regardless of what's been said about him in terms of his violent behavior while being around my family. Right? As if what I have to say is meaningless. As if Shimei losing her life is meaningless, basically. Because it was all about, well, how can we get the dad to get the baby? As I'm sitting here in this man cave with 4 men, 1 a judge, 2 lawyers, the father and myself, because it was a case conference today, to discuss how we were going to settle this matter, or if we were going to go to trial, which is set for April. Because if we go to trial, and this is why my lawyer is concerned, based on this legislation, which overrules anything I have to say. It doesn't matter. Right? He automatically, by default, because he's the sperm donor, who wants to label himself a father after all this time, deserves the chance and will gain guardianship over Amari, where I will lose it. And that's the gamble by going to trial. Because my lawyer cannot guarantee a deal. And I basically told my lawyer that I regret not going to trial for Andre. Because I was held in that same position. If you go to trial, Andre will stay in foster care even longer. And he was already in foster care 15 months, people. My family had already been destroyed. And I couldn't drag. I just, for my kids' sake, for Shmei and Tisha and Marcane and for Uncle John and for Andre's sake, I just couldn't drag it out any longer. I settled out of court and agreed to their terms, which I am completely unsatisfied with because he's not covered for dental. He's not covered for his prescriptions. I get a minimum of $800 a month. There's no benefit with the GST. It's less than what I would get if I had him on my file with welfare, in addition to his family allowance and the GST, because he'd be covered for medical with his prescriptions. He'd be covered for his dental care and all this other stuff, which he is not. And they redo their file every 2 years in terms of the financial agreement, because that's how it was sold to me. Oh, it's just a financial agreement. Take it. Because if you don't take it, Andre will be in foster care for who knows how long, because it's going to drag out in court. And again, I was thinking about my kids, thinking about Uncle John, thinking about, obviously, Andre. And I settled out of court, and I regret it to this day, people. I do. So, I am not going to do that with Shmei. I am not going to shortchange Shmei. I am not going to shortchange Amari. I am not going to shortchange Andre, Alea May, Tisha, Uncle Marcane. Nobody that's connected to this family am I going to shortchange, just so that I can play the safe card and have Amari half a week, as if that would be good for Amari. Because it's not, people. Because, first of all, there's nothing healthy about what is going on between the two parties in terms of passing Amari over so that Daddy can have his parenting time, as he hides behind a curtain. And then, as soon as the mother comes out to bring out the baby, he opens the curtain to make sure that I see him. But he won't talk to me, people. He wants me to see him. He wants me to see him standing in the shadows with the light on his cell phone and freak me out that way. But he doesn't have the balls to come and talk to me and explain to me what happened to my daughter, being that he was there. So I just told my lawyer, I will take the bullet. Russian roulette. Because if it blows up in my face and I lose my grandson over this, people, and they give my grandson, a very vulnerable baby who quite possibly has cerebral palsy or muscular dystrophy or something similar along those lines. In other words, he's a special needs child. And they're just going to hand him over to some person that wants to capitalize off of my daughter's death, as everybody sitting around in the room, regardless of who they are, just want to move forward and forget that she even existed. Because the mother is dead now. It's behind us. We need to move forward. Are you listening to me? I'm in the man cave. I told my lawyer, well, if that happens, then I'll just take it to the Supreme Court. If I have to do it by myself, I'll do it by myself. If something happens to my grandson, something bad, I'll sue the judge. that allowed it to happen. Because you're dealing with a violent man. Plain and simple. It may be quiet right now, but at some point, it's going to resurface. It might take years, but sooner or later, it's going to resurface, people. Remember, what happened to Shimei was going towards Tisha's room, and it was going to happen to her. And that's when I woke up crying. Do you know I have yet to cry for my daughter? Oh, I shed a tear here and there, but it's just wanting to, you know, that grieving, that cry for an hour where you just can't stop crying. I have not done that for my daughter yet, people. No justice, no peace. And if it means I have to take a bullet because the court's got me now playing Russian roulette with my grandson's life and the rest of my children's lives and my other grandchildren's lives to appease a man that can't even stand up and have a fucking decent conversation and explain himself to the people that he's trying to take the baby away from, right? As if he could raise this baby. If he was so concerned about this baby, why didn't he treat my daughter better when she was pregnant? Why didn't he treat my daughter better after she had the baby? But we're supposed to forget about all that bullshit, right? Because she's dead now. So we just need to move on because we're in the man cave and it's all about what the men want. Not about what the women want, because we're disposable. We're expendable. We can just be kicked off to the side, murdered. Oh, sorry, that's another thing. I'm not allowed to use the word murder anymore because lawyers don't like the word murder. He had the potential of causing her death. I was supposed to say caused, the potential to cause. That's more easy on the ears. It's not so poignant and to the point in terms of, he murdered my daughter. Fucking right, he murdered my daughter, people. He snuck up on her. When you sneak up on somebody and you do something without them fucking being able to defend themselves and it kills them, that is murder. But we haven't gotten to that point yet. Right? Well, his lawyer sits up there and continuously lies. I caught him in another fucking lie today. This lawyer keeps lying. He keeps insisting that the father and the mother were in a common law relationship, which is a bunch of fucking hogwash. Now, what happened is his mother's house got robbed. And because he couldn't stay there anymore, because they were scoping out his house and after him, he started coming over here to hide out. And then they started circling my yard looking for him. Because I caught him. And I said, Shmei, what the fuck is this shit going on out? Oh, well, that has something to do with so-and-so because his mother's house got robbed and they must be chasing him over here now. Because he's a fucking he-score. Right? He didn't move in. He was hiding out. And she was trying to fucking kick him out, but he wouldn't fucking leave because he kept using, oh, well, let's do co-parenting. Since you don't want to be with me, we'll just co-parent. That's the cool thing to do these days. And because she was in turmoil, you know, right? Trying to be fair, she somewhat agreed to give it a shot. But he quite possibly caused her death, people. He didn't murder her. He just quite possibly caused her death to take care of his fucking problem. And now everybody's fawning over him. Being nice to him, but looking at me like I'm a piece of shit. Because I'm standing up for my family. Including my dead daughter. Who couldn't defend herself from somebody that creeped up fucking behind her. And hot capped her. There's a reason why it's called hot capping. It's just the courts haven't caught up to it yet. Right? For whatever reason. Because there's a lot of kickbacks to these fentanyl deaths. That's a different freaking video. So now I feel like I've got a gun pointed at me with 6 live bullets. and one empty chamber. I get one chance, people, to keep my grandson safe. And in one spot where he belongs. Not being passed around like a puppet to move forward and forget about what happened to the mother. Because it's too hard to wrap your head around. Because when you're in the man cave, it's all about what the men want and never what the women want, right? So, I'm not going to drag this out. I could talk about it in circles for 10 hours. It's not going to get me anywhere. Right. But, you know, maybe I need to talk about it for 10 hours. Because here's the thing. My son, right, who's an alcoholic, I have video of this, people. I purposely took a video of him, one, to embarrass him, hoping that maybe he'd clean up his act. And two, just to show people that what goes on in my life goes on in other people's lives in terms of people having to deal with alcoholics and that type of thing, right? Because I'm nobody special in terms of I don't live the perfect life. So anyway, somebody watched that video. They called up MCFD, Ministry of Children and Family Development, called me up, asked me what the heck was going on. I explained it to them. I already told them that I had asked my son to leave because none of my kids ever grew up that way, so obviously I wasn't going to put up with it from my son. So I already had a handle on it, people. So nothing came out of it. But yet, if you notice, since Shimei's been gone, anything that this sperm donor did prior to her death is all insignificant. We can all testify as to how violent and threatening this person really is because we lived through it for over a year and a bit. I don't know exactly how long. I just know for almost as long as I've known him. And I live in fear today. I lock my doors when I'm in here by myself, right? I'm afraid to be in the house by myself for any length of time unless the door's locked, people, because I'm always afraid he's going to come fucking creeping in and hot capping me too. And if he's not going to hot cap me, he's going to hot cap my daughter or somebody else in this house. Just because, right? If he did it once, he's capable of doing it twice. Right? That's how he solves his problems, right? So, and I brought that up to to the lawyer, right? I said, well, you know, how is it that nobody cares that this is the way this guy is? Now that the cat is out of the bag, right? Because in the days when he was doing all this, it really wasn't my place to force him out of the house. All I could do, people, was mentor Shimei to realize that she was in a domestic abuse relationship, right? And that she had to make some choices if she wasn't going to lose her baby, right? And she chose not to lose her baby and not be with the man. And the man couldn't handle that, right? And the only thing is, when they used to fight and all this other crap, and, you know, and I threatened to call the police, or she threatened to call the police, he'd always cause the damage and then leave before we actually called the police. Right? There were times when Sierra was around and there was police all the time because of Sierra, because we were calling for Sierra to take her out or whatever it was, right? So when he was acting up, it wasn't like we wanted to call the police and invite the fucking police over when they were already there just 4 days ago. You know what I mean? It was already, and he knew that. So because he knew that, he took advantage of that, people, right? And punched holes in walls, busted up my door, had my car windows shot out with a fucking BB gun, brought guns into my house, threatened to shoot my family, threatened to shoot me, threatened to burn down my house. Are you listening to me, people? Threatened to smash out all my windows, did smash out one of my windows, busted up like 6 TVs, right? Flipped over fucking furniture, right? Manhandled Shimei before giving birth and after birth. And everybody is ignoring it as if it didn't happen because we're moving forward. And they expect me to settle out of court and just say, here, take Amari half the week. And forget that you ever had a daughter named Shimei. That is the impression that I am left with as I am being forced to play Russian roulette in a man cave with 6 bullets in a gun with only 1 empty chamber. 1. That's what I'm walking into, people. This is what this person has brought me and my family to. So to be fair, I just thought I'd put it out there.